Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a foundational concept in psychoanalysis, Freud's idea of recalc.
That's right. You often hear it translated as repression, but going back to Freud's own words gives us a much richer picture.
Exactly. We want to understand it the way he framed it.
And it's crucial because, back then the term psychoanalysis was being used pretty loosely by some people, like Jung, for instance. Freud really felt the need to define what his psychoanalysis was truly about.
Yeah, he needed to draw some lines, so we're looking mainly at his writings from the 1910s.
Primarily, yeah. The history of the psychoanalytic movement from 1914 and his specific paper on repression, or au recalc, from 1915. Those are key.
And he wasn't subtle about how important this was he? He called the theory of repression
A cornerstone, absolutely. And the most essential part of psychoanalysis. You can't really grasp Freud without getting this.
Okay, so cornerstone concept. Let's dive in. What observations actually led him to develop this theory?
Well, it really came out of his clinical practice, specifically when he stopped using hypnosis and started just, talking with patients.
Right, the free association method.
Exactly. And he noticed this phenomenon, resistance. Patients would actively resist talking about or remembering certain things, and this resistance often showed up as gaps in their memory, like amnesia about specific topics.
So not just passively forgetting, an active pushing away.
Precisely. Hypnosis, interestingly, seemed to bypass this resistance, which obscured the whole process. But seeing resistance and amnesia together, without hypnosis, that suggested something powerful was at work unconsciously.
And that's what made psychoanalysis different from just, say, philosophical ideas about an unconscious, is clinical evidence of an active unconscious.
Absolutely. It wasn't just speculation. And Freud actually pointed to two really surprising clinical facts that he said any approach claiming to be psychoanalytic had to grapple with.
Which were?
Transference, the intense, often surprising feelings the patient develops for the analyst, and this very resistance we're talking about. He saw them as fundamental.
Okay. So recalc is the mechanism behind that resistance.
That's the idea. He defined recalc as a specific psychological operation. Its job is to push something out of conscious awareness and, crucially, keep it at a distance, maintain that separation.
Like actively holding something underwater, maybe? It takes effort.
That's a decent analogy. It requires ongoing psychic energy, and what's being pushed away, Freud called it the representant pulsional.
Okay. Sounds technical. Break that down.
It essentially means the mental idea or image that represents an instinctual drive within the conscious system. Think of a basic drive like aggression or sexuality, and the thoughts or feelings connected to it that try to emerge into consciousness.
So recalc acts on that representation in the conscious mind.
In the conscious system, yes. But here's the critical part. It doesn't just delete it. The instinctual representative can continue to exist in the unconscious. It can develop, organize, connect with other unconscious ideas.
So it's pushed out of sight, but not out of existence. It's still active down there.
Very much so. And while recalc targets the main conscious idea, it can still affect all the related unconscious thoughts, the derivatives. Chains of associated ideas might still find roundabout ways to reach consciousness, maybe in disguised forms.
Fascinating. And Freud also made a distinction within that representante pulsional, didn't he, between the idea and the emotion?
Exactly, a really crucial distinction. He separated the idea, the thought content, the images from the quota of affect, the emotional charge, the energy attached to that idea.
And they don't always stick together under repression.
No. That's key. Recalc might successfully push the idea out of consciousness, but the emotional energy, that quota of affect, might detach and, connect itself to a completely different, seemingly unrelated idea.
Which could explain why someone might have intense feelings about something that seems, on the surface, quite minor.
Precisely. The effect gets displaced. So this whole mechanism of recalc, it really reveals the psyche as being fundamentally divided, doesn't it?
Yeah, it points to that split between conscious and unconscious processes.
And also between our sort of raw instinctual drives and how they get represented symbolically in our minds. There's a constant tension.
So the theory really underpins this whole notion of the subject, you, the listener, as being divided, pulled between what you're aware of and what remains unconscious, between instinct and thought.
Mm-hmm. It paints a picture of our inner lives as dynamic, complex, and definitely not unified. Recalc isn't just forgetting, it's an active, ongoing process shaping that inner landscape.
A really powerful idea. So to wrap up, maybe something for you to think about. Consider those moments when you have feelings or memories or even behaviors that seem a bit inexplicable, out of the blue perhaps.
Could recalc be involved? Could there be unconscious forces, representations pushed away, but still active, shaping your conscious experience in ways you haven't really considered?
Something to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us today.